Hey, what's going on? I hope you're having a great day today. Davis and I are back for another episode of today's Home Service Success TV with another absolutely amazing guest from the service industry. And our goal, as always, is to make sure that we bring you tons and tons of value so that you can run your service business better, live a more fulfilled life, have more freedom, have more financial gain in the business, and be a better leader. So today's guest is somebody who was with AT&T making decent money for quite a long time and was happy for a little while. But then around 2006 decided, okay, wait a minute, let's take control of my own life here. And in 2006 started a home service company in Oklahoma and rapidly grew this company, grew it to 5 locations in Oklahoma and into North Texas. Realized that one of his favorite things was the coaching, the leadership of his team. So started to lean into that more, got John Maxwell certified as an author, a coach, and a speaker. And then in 2018, after he had grown the business to just over $9 million in 2018, actually exited the business. And as a lot of us are hearing right now, private equity money is really big in the industry. So he did sell to a private equity company that he still to this day has a great relationship with, and actually ended up maintaining some of the ownership of the business. So some of the stake in the business still. And then loved the coaching and training so much, partnered with Go Time Success, was a coach there and a trainer there for about a year and a half or so, became an author, wrote a book, and again, continued to really enjoy that. And he was so well known in the industry that he got picked up by Service Titan as the director of customer relations in early 2020. So talk about going into an interesting new position at Service Titan, which we all know is, the largest software company in home service, but going into this right around the time of COVID. So this person has been through all of it, from running the company, growing it, multiple different locations, leadership, training, coaching, and author, and now working as director of customer relations with one of the largest software companies anywhere around this space. So we're going to have a lot of really, really good stuff from this person today. So without further ado, Chris Hunter, welcome to Home Service Success TV.
Thanks for having me on. I'm a big fan, so I am really excited when you guys reached out and asked me to be a part of this. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You've done really, really amazing things in the industry and really, really cool things within the coaching and the leadership. And, you and I have known each other for quite some time now. But one of the things that I always have so much respect for you is the way that you lead. You lead by coaching your leaders, and then you let them do their job. And I think in my experience, we've seen that a lot of people talk about doing that. We know we're supposed to do it, but very few people actually do it well. And I think you do it extremely well, and your success obviously shows that. So I always love chatting with you.
Well, I appreciate it. It's all about the people. I often say, whenever we get to the end, we're not going to remember all the things that all the money we made or the tasks we checked off, but we're going to remember the people that we did things with. So I thought, hey, what better way than to develop leaders, and duplicate in other areas. So that was my whole vision for my business.
Awesome.
Well, and Chris, it sounds like you kind of had to learn yourself by trial and error. So you're giving, some of these younger guys the benefit of learning from your mistakes, right?
All about learning. So whenever I pinch myself, honestly, because what I think about my journey through this industry and this career, and it's amazing that a guy that, at one point in time, believe it or not, me and my wife lived in government assisted housing. We had no money. Here I was married with a young child, and we're like, how are we supposed to do this adult thing, right? How do we have a life and make it work? Well, and I got into the trades and learned electrical and mechanical, which led me to get on AT&T. And then from there, all I did was seek out those that had already done what I wanted to do, and I learned what they did, and then I took massive action on it. That was the biggest thing. I just took massive action on what they had already paved the way and showed me how to do. So I'm all about learning every day. I love learning.
Yeah, it never ends, right?
Yeah.
Well, and we want to get into some of that, but I want to start with how with that transition from AT&T and kind of your, as you described it, a really comfortable job to taking that leap of faith and starting your own business. And, what did the first 2 or 3 years of owning your own business look like, and what trials and errors, can others learn from? What did you go through that others can learn from?
Great question. So really and truly, if you think about it, it goes back to that people thing. I would have never started my company if it wouldn't have been from a mentor of mine that happened to be my boss at AT&T. He's the one that saw the potential in me that I didn't even see in myself. And he told me, he's like, Chris, he said, I feel like you need to go and get your contractor license. He said, not saying you should leave AT&T, but if something ever happens, here you have it. Well, just so happened that's when 9/11 happened, and there was some things that transpired after that. Thank goodness I did learn HVAC and had this license. And then it also went back to my wife, having someone else that believed in me, that gave me the okay to take this chance. Because here, back to the security, we've got a family, and I'm making a decent living. We're comfortable. And then to go and start a new business and not being able to even pay ourselves half of what we were making before in that first year, I could have never done that if I wouldn't have had the support system to push me out of my comfort zone and to take off. So having people that saw my potential and having people that had my back and believed in me was huge. And then as starting that business and growing, I was a mechanic. I'm a technical mechanical guy. That's what I did. I fixed one problem at a time, this machine, and then the customer. And then all of a sudden I love my trade. And I get thrown into a business now where actually it has nothing to do with the trade that I'm doing, very little. I'm spending more time trying to figure out how to do payroll and marketing and people management and all this stuff that had nothing to do with fixing that one problem at a time, that air conditioner. So it was, a lot of people get into it thinking that, I'm good at what I do, my craft, so I should start my own company. Whew, that's not quite the reason why maybe to jump in. So I do advise people go in eyes wide open that business and your craft are two really totally separate things that take different skill sets.
Yeah, I think it's so true. And I'm sure, when you were going through it 15 years ago, it was a different environment. Like nowadays, there's so many podcasts, there's a lot of coaching and consulting groups and people and just resources to help you out. So I guess, and that's what you're doing now. So you kind of identified that later on. It's like, well, gee, I went through all these struggles. I'm sure there's other people that are too. How can I lend a helping hand?
Amen. That's why. So the first thing I did was I got Ron Smith's book, and Ron Smith spelled it out. It's HVAC spells wealth, and he was successful. So I started learning. Oh my goodness. So actually me never working for another heating and air company was actually a blessing, because I didn't know any bad habits. I didn't know anything. So when I got good information from Ron in that book, I took action on it. And then likewise, back then there wasn't social media. I mean, it was barely a thing. So it wasn't like all these Facebook groups where you could go and have instant access to the industry leaders. Right. So I joined the Service Roundtable and then the Service Nation Alliance and got assigned a mentor. Okay. Those mentors changed the direction of my life, because without them pouring into me, I would have probably still been in that truck today, being that mechanic that owned a job instead of learning how to build a team and to grow a company.
Gotcha. Yeah. So that's such an awesome story. And I guess tell us a little bit about how you decided, after 10 or 15 years of owning it, that you wanted to, how did you start considering the idea of selling it?
Yeah. So when I joined the Service Nation Alliance, the first thing they did is send you through a boot camp. And I remember it was like day one of boot camp, and we start designing our exit strategy. And I'm like, why are we talking exit strategy? I'm just trying to figure out how to be profitable here. And Matt Michelle at the time, he said, well, here's the thing. You should always start with the end in mind, because believe it or not, the end is going to come. You're going to exit your business one way or the other, either by retiring, by death, or selling it. One way or another, you're going to exit. And here's the beauty. If you start with the end in mind and reverse engineer how you want your company to be, even if you never sell it, it'll run really profitable. You'll create something that you love. So I started doing that back then. But I never really thought, I was in a small area. Like I said, 25,000 people, rural Oklahoma. I'm like, who could I sell it to besides maybe the people that worked for me? And that was kind of the plan. But then once this industry kind of got reattractive, I say reattractive because I know it was several years back, and then it went through kind of a dry period. And I got a couple calls, and people were like wanting to invest in my company. And I'm like, well, what do you think it's worth? And the first offer I got was a little over $1 million. And I was like, oh my gosh, $1 million. So I called one of my mentors, and he said, Chris, anytime somebody wants to offer you a significant amount of money, he said, here's the deal. Listen to them. He said, go. He said, even if you don't take it, and he said, trust me, I'm going to advise you not to take this one. He said, but you'll learn a lot through the process. So I did, and I learned a lot through that process. And then fast forward a few years, when our business had grown 3 times by this point, and it's worth a lot more money now at this point, I got another call like this. And I realized that I actually flew out to Las Vegas and visited with Ken Goodrich. And I'm like, Ken, tell me about this. And he said, well, $10 million, Chris, and $1 million of EBITDA is kind of the benchmark you need to shoot for to start getting attractive to these private equity groups. And I was just about there. And he said, and plus the window opens only so many times. And he said, Chris, the window is open right now. He said, so a lot of people are going to make a lot of money right now by the window being open. And the thing is, just because you sell to like a private equity company, it doesn't mean you're done. It's almost like just an investment into your business. So whenever I did that, whenever I realized, okay, this is the time I'm gonna go for it, I'm gonna do it. Here was a cool thing. 8 other key people in my company that I had poured my life into and developed them as leaders, they all now have equity in our company as well, in the private equity group. So when this thing sells again, not only will I'll get a second bite of the apple, but all of these 8 leaders, they're going to have life-changing money as well. And that for me is more gratifying than really anything else that I've done. I can't wait for that to happen for them.
Absolutely. It's officially bigger than yourself, right? And it has been for a while now. But man, I think that's such an important point about, growing it to sell it, even if you're not really planning on selling it, even if you want to do it, until the day that you can't anymore. It's just a perspective about how you're defining your operations and scaling the business that I think, when you are the business, it's hard to work on the business. You're constantly in it and you don't have that different perspective. But to your point, Chris, when you're looking to sell it, or at least formulating the operations so that you can sell it, ultimately the business just runs better for that reason. So I think that's a really interesting point and an interesting perspective. And it's also amazing that you literally went from knowing zero about operations. You were an engineer, you're a mechanic essentially, and had to learn all the operations, and then decided, well, not only am I going to learn the operations, but I'm going to learn how to create these operations so that it's appealing to somebody who wants to come buy it.
Well, I know that's something even, knowing Stephen that he has done. A person has to invest in themselves first, because you can't give what you don't have, right? So that's why I knew, oh my gosh, I got to learn leadership. I got to learn how to influence people, or otherwise this is going to be a very tough journey. So that's why I sought out like the John Maxwell program. I thought, well, who's the best at leadership? Researched, it was John Maxwell. So I thought, okay, that's the one I want to learn from. So I went and learned from John, and that was pretty game changing for me, because then, oh man, it's like the blinders fell off, and I realized that, oh my goodness, if we're going to do something significant, it's definitely going to require a team, and I can't just magically expect them to know this stuff. I'm going to have to start really pouring into them. So I spent probably really and truly the majority of my time developing these leaders and teaching them the same things that I was learning. And the beauty of it wasn't just about business. I found that if you invested in the people and even the life skills, man, that was the stuff that paid off tenfold. And we did a lot of that at my company, Hunter Supertex. We invested a lot into not just technical and sales and leadership, but in actual life skills for our team as well.
Dude, I absolutely love that. And I want to just reiterate and highlight that for anybody listening right now, because I believe it's so important to invest in each individual and invest in your team. And so I love the fact of how important you are sharing that is. And I also think that as owners and founders, we can tend to forget that, when we tell somebody or when we try to coach somebody within the company, or we expect them to just know something, we can easily forget that it might have taken us 15 years to learn this one little tiny thing, or this one little tiny mindset trick, or this one little tiny thing about finances or operations or whatever it is. And we probably failed 15 times at it until we actually learned it right. And so I see it a lot where owners are like, well, just do that. Like, just do that little thing. It's so obvious. And I used to get like that. I mean, years ago, I would get frustrated. I'd be like, can't you just see this little thing right here? Like, just go do it. And one of my mentors told me, they're like, Steven, you don't understand. It took you 20 years or 10 years to learn that thing. So you can't get frustrated or expect them to see that, because you've had so much that led up to your ability to see that one little tiny thing. So I think that's just important to pay attention to. Like, what we see as easy comes based on a lot of years of experience and a lot of failures and a lot of trial and error. So I try very hard to give our team, every individual the benefit of the doubt, and just give them a little bit more time. Like, if they have a question, then I'm like, well, you should know that. And I'm like, wait, nope, you shouldn't actually know that. So I think that's just a really important point.
Yeah, you do this better, honestly, than probably anybody that I've seen. I've kept up with you for quite a while, and I see that. So, and that's why your business is so successful. You get quality people like Davis here because they know that you truly care about them and want them to succeed. So there's a saying that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you build a team. John Maxwell even says, he said, all these people that say it's lonely at the top, and they said, well, you did it all wrong. Because if you're at the top alone, you did it wrong. You should have brung your whole team with you, and it makes for a much better celebration and party when you get to do it with all your team at the top.
I love that.
Well, I want to make a quick segue here or I guess maybe a tangent, I should call it, because Chris, I do want to get into your work with Service Titan, but while we're on the subject of recruiting, I think this is actually a big pain point right now for a lot of home service businesses, because there's kind of a shortage in good quality techs right now. And so, Chris, I was going to ask you, did you, in terms of your leadership in developing your team, did you tend to hire people that had more skills and expertise and were more experienced, or maybe, weren't as experienced, but you could tell just had a great attitude and were ready to learn? Or was it a mix of the two? And what advice, or what are you seeing right now that you can lend some advice to?
So 2 things on the tech shortage first. Everybody wants to complain about not having techs, but there's companies out there that actually have a waiting list of people that want to join their teams. And I was blessed to have one of those teams. So my first thing is, everyone that has a shortage of techs, go find those other people and learn what they're doing and what their company is like, what their value system is about. And you might want to pay attention to what's going on there, because I truly believe we may not have a tech shortage. We may just have a leadership shortage. And because if you paint the vision, and it's like a magnet. You can attract the people to you. They don't have to know HVAC. We can test for mechanical aptitude, but more importantly, we should test for the right values and the right desires to learn, all that type of thing. And that's why I've got a school at Go Time Success Group. We have a training school because I believe in taking very green people with great attitudes and desire to learn, and we can teach them the technical side of it. And now even with the power of software and automation, we can make things very systemized and get a very consistent product every time. So that's that part of it. The second part on the tech shortage is I truly believe that I saw a stat and it blew my mind, because if you talk to most technicians, and mine are the same way, I was the same way as a tech, and you say, how many calls do you think you do a day or whatever? Well, they all feel like they do 6 to 10 calls a day. It feels busy, but overall, the average is like less than 2 calls per day. So that got me thinking, do we really have a tech shortage, or do we have maybe an efficiency problem here? What if we utilize technology, leverage technology combined with our marketing, and actually we're very intentional and strategic about deploying the manpower that we have? Maybe we wouldn't be in such a bind thinking we need more techs at certain times, and because the data doesn't lie. So yes, I know we have a skilled trades shortage. We do, but it can be solved with leadership and training and improving your efficiency. I'm a huge believer in that.
Well, and certainly I think the more leadership that we provide, the more people will want to get into the trades and see how valuable of a career can really be, right? Kind of.
That's it. Yeah, it's all about the story. Businesses need to go out and tell their story.
Mm-hmm.
They want to. I can't tell you how many people that would join our team. Wasn't just because they wanted to become a plumber or HVAC company. No, it's because we told our story and where we came from and what we're doing in the community and how we're giving back and what it feels like to be on a team, what it feels like to win together and grow together. People want to be a part of something like that. It's not all about the money even. The money is a byproduct. I'm a firm believer in that. But contractors would go out, start telling their stories, start early. My goodness, I used to go into 2nd grade classrooms. Anybody that would give me a platform to talk, yes, sir, I'm there. I want to tell my story, and I want to just paint the picture to start planting seeds. And that's how I think we end this whole theoretical shortage that we're in.
I agree with you, Chris. So let's talk about, so you joined Service Titan in April of this year, correct?
Yep, sure did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I really want to talk about that, kind of what that experience has been like for you, transitioning from consulting now with a software company, the leading software company for home services, and, what you've learned in the last few months with them, and what are you seeing moving forward? Like, what's kind of the forecast looking like in general, and also specifically from a software perspective and marketing and data integration perspective?
So let's go back to the story. So the story is how I ended up at Service Titan. I wasn't looking for, last thing I wanted to go do was, here I've had my own companies, my own businesses. Why would I want to go take a position in a company as a real job, But the story was compelling. I saw Tom Howard, which is now the VP of Customer Experience, talking about what's going on at Service Titan, what his vision was. Then I got to visit with Ara and Vahe, the co-founders there, and they talked about, Chris, this is the opportunity to truly make a difference at scale for thousands of contractors, and we're just getting started. And he said, we need people like you on our team that have been through you've been through the journey and you've came out successful at it. Said, we could use you to help these contractors and to help our internal team to do a lot of good and to make this industry even better. So the story compelled me, and I thought, that's a vision that I can believe in, and I want to make a difference. Here I am. I've been blessed so much by this industry. My goal now is just how can I give back? So I was attracted to that. Now, fast forward, once I got on this side of the fence, I'm learning so much. Talk about learning. So to go from, working in the trades at my company had 90 people at it, to now working with a group with over thousands, or there's over 1,000 employees at Service Titan. And to think about this, right during COVID, I've never even seen the building. I've never even been there. So I've worked this whole time via Zoom and Slack and all these other channels, but it's been phenomenal. I've got to know so many super smart people. I'm learning from a new group of leadership that are used to doing things different. They're used to innovation and all of these things. So all of these things that I'm learning, I'm able to relate back to the trades and even pass information back to people in the trades about what's clicking, what's working at a number 11 on the Forbes list software company, and how can that be used in the trades. They're phenomenal at marketing. They're phenomenal at the people business and leadership and how to scale, learning all this stuff that's there. So my hardest part there is seeing all the really cool stuff that they're working on that I can't talk about yet. So and it's so awesome. I'm just like, it's like Christmas presents underneath the Christmas tree. I'm just about to bust. I want to sneak in and, give everyone a little sneak peek, but I can't. So I'm having a lot of fun there, and it's a lot of really cool stuff, and they are doing some amazing things.
Awesome. Yeah, we're going to have to get you back on in about 6 months or 12 months when things have been released and you can explain your excitement around it.
That's it.
Well, from the sounds of it, based on how fast that I've watched Service Titan move over the last, not even 10 years. It might only be like 2 months or 3 months until you can talk about some of the new stuff.
Well, and that's the thing, Stephen. They're always growing so fast. They're investing $80 million in R&D, but that's why they're investing also in people like me and Tom Howard and Angie Snow. And believe it or not, we have added 26 people from the industry because Service Titan is growing so fast. Everyone has scale problems, and they want to maintain that, make customers successful. That is the North Star. So it is amazing whenever they bring in people like us from the industry and they hang on every word that we say because they know that we are their target customer. And like for me, I told them when I come in, I don't have any other agenda. I'm not trying to climb a corporate ladder. I'm not trying to do anything special here except for represent the trade and the people that I love the most. And so I shoot it straight with them, and they respect that and they listen. And you get all these people that have degrees and IQs that I don't even deserve to be in the same room, yet they listen to every word that we say. And then more importantly, they take action on it. It's kind of like surreal, honestly. It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what's your title? The customer relations?
Yeah. Director of customer relations. Yeah.
Yeah, so give us a little bit of an insight into your world and what that means, and I guess in general what that means for developing partnerships moving forward from both a business owner and a vendor standpoint.
Yeah, it's great. It's a great question. So the whole customer experience department is what I work in. That wasn't even here at the first of the year with Service Titan. So they created this. It's kind of like why Apple created its own separate little special design department. That's why they created customer experience, because they thought, you know what? This has to be number one. We have to have a cross-functional group that touches all pieces of this business. So they created it from scratch. So there was no customer relations position with a manual on how to do it. And that's honestly the part that I really love, because they come in, they're like, all right, cast the vision. What do you want the relationships to look like? And then start building a team and let's go do it. So it's been a whole lot. I've spent a ton of time working with the product people. First, let's get the product right, what contractors really want. And if you think about it, it saves Service Titan probably millions of dollars just by getting it right the first time. So bringing in even more people from the industry to help them do that. And then the second part is back to me learning. I get to spend so much time with the top contractors across the nation, and I'm learning. And then I'm getting to help and share and connect in this community. We built a Service Titan Masterminds Facebook group that now has over 4,200 members in it. And it's a community where everybody's sharing best practices and we're all learning from each other and growing together. That has been really awesome for me to see and to learn from as well. So that's a lot of what I do now, working with the product, working with the customers. I tease and I say, I get to do everything that I loved about business, all the strategy and the learning and the learning and visiting with people like you, marketing wise, without all the stress of the financial part that came with operating my own company. So it's the best of both worlds. As far as the vendors go, that is another thing that we're ramping up as well. We've got what's called an ASP program, an authorized service provider program, that's going to fall back underneath us. And our goal there is to connect our customers to really great people like yourself that can help not only grow their business, make them successful, but also know the product, know the software. We were talking, it's so important for a relationship with a marketing company to actually know the software that can track and measure and all this stuff and have it all in one place where the contractor can understand it. Because a lot of companies do it outside. And frankly, when things are tracked a lot outside of the contractor software, let's face it, some people could maybe make those numbers look whatever they want. Mm-hmm. So when it's in a neutral environment like ServiceTitan, and both the vendor and the customer are working inside this, it's transparent, we grow together, and it's a really great combination.
Yeah. I love that, Chris. I mean, I think you've known that's kind of how we work, right? Like we didn't build this big separate software platform to showcase all of our numbers. We work within each of our clients' ServiceTitan accounts so that we can pull real information. And probably the most important thing that's really simple is just making sure that tracking is set up right. Like it's so simple, but I mean, we get clients that come over and have had ServiceTitan, and there's just these little tweaks that their marketing agency never actually really set up right, or the tracking phone number has changed. So a lot of their data in ServiceTitan that they're making decisions based off of wasn't even truly correct from the marketing side. So yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, our team, we know ServiceTitan pretty well. I mean, it's such an in-depth platform, but we're consistently doing training on it and stuff so that we can grab that information and actually help the client make really good decisions with real information. And then when you guys or clients looking at their ServiceTitan dashboard, they can trust the data to know what's actually, where leads actually coming from.
And that's what we want to do with that ASP program. We want to provide people like you the training and certification. So that way you're in the loop with it as well. And customers could see that and go, they're certified with that as well. So it makes sense. I'm excited about that program.
Awesome, man. Can't wait to hear even more about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just so important of, whether it's a marketing company or your coach or, consulting group, whoever you're working with, if you deem them as a partner in growth, you should enable them to have access to your numbers so that you guys are looking at apples and apples, comparing the same data set, and kind of are able to track, if it's a marketing company, what does your ROI look like year over year? Can you track every dollar spent to a dollar earned? And that's something that we're big on here at WIT. But I think, again, whether it's your marketing company or any partner that you consider, just having those integrations and being data driven and being aligned in terms of the data that you're looking at, there's so much value in that. And it really changes the game.
It is. I have a whole chapter in the book that me and Ben Stark and Dave Rothacker just produced called It's Go Time. But the chapter is called Transformational Relationships. And it's really all about vendor relationships, because we didn't just see them as a vendor, somebody that transactional. It was truly transformational for Ben and myself, because we developed relationships with those vendors, and we knew that when you do that, something magical happens. Now it's like you're both working for a common cause. I wanted my vendors to be successful, and here was the beauty. Even after Hunter SuperTex, those vendor relations, who would have dreamed I would have been at ServiceTitan? That would have not have happened if I wouldn't have developed that relationship with Aura and Vahe back when I was a customer. right? Who would have dreamed I would be sitting here talking with you guys? That wouldn't have happened if we wouldn't have been intentional about developing a relationship, so that's why I think those transformational relationships with the vendor and the customer, it can't just be a one-way street. This is truly a team that we're working together to try to accomplish something.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I know Steven's going to have some recaps for us, but before we get to that, Chris, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. I just love your story, and I think there's so much more to come, and we look forward to hearing the evolution moving forward. But give folks a quick heads up on where they can find you if they want to learn more about you.
Yeah, so a couple different places, since I do wear many hats now. One, you can always go to GoTimeSuccessGroup.com, and you can see our training school that's on there. You can see the book that we just put out called It's Go Time. And by the way, that is actually an acronym. So hopefully you can learn about it, but it's basically everything we've talked about here today. It's all about learning and taking massive action. So you can definitely check us out there. Also, at Service Titan, chunter@servicetitan.com. Feel free to email me, or if you'd like to check out Service Titan's podcast, it's called Toolbox for the Trades. Pretty active on that thing as well. There's also a Facebook group there that Steven, you're actually a member of as well. So love to connect with you guys on there.
Awesome. Davis, any closing words before we let this bad boy roll? And I'm going to recap all of the things I've learned. I actually had to pare down my list because it was a little too big.
I know we got a lot of good sauce out of this one. No, Steven, I think go for it. Let's dive into the recap.
Awesome,
Go
man.
time, buddy. It's go time. Let's hear it.
Okay, cool. And Chris, just thank you again, man. I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate everything that you've done for the industry, and again, taking time out of your day to share this. So yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, let's rock and roll. So thank you, everybody listening, for taking time out of your day to hang out with Davis and I again for today's episode. So let's rock some takeaways here that we got from Chris Hunter with Go Time Success, SuperTex, previously with SuperTex, still partially owner, and now Service Titan. And here we go. Right from the beginning, seek out those who have done what you want to do. I think we've all heard that, but it's really good to hear it again, because sometimes as we get into our companies or into our position, wherever we are, we kind of start to think, oh, well, we know it all, and we get comfortable, but we don't necessarily always know what we need to do to get to that next level. So seek out those who have done what you want to do and learn from them. And probably, arguably, the most important piece of that is take massive action on what you've learned. We can sit there and read all the books in the world and go through all the coaching programs in the world, but if we don't grab that and take massive action with it, then it ends up going nowhere. And take action before you actually even have all of the perfect answers. Progress over perfection. So start taking action right away, learn what's working for you, learn what's not working from you, and then continue taking action as you continue to learn more. Talking about habits, I kind of deferred this or pulled this out of something that Chris said, but think about the habits that we have created and how we're currently doing things. And just because we've done something some way doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best way. So question the things that you've learned, question the ways that you're doing things within your current business. And, are these things the really best? So learn from other people in similar industries, learn from other people in different industries, just like how Chris has started to learn a lot of stuff by being involved in Service Titan, which is a completely different type of company, a completely different size of company from anything that he had ever been involved in previously. Learn from these different things and question the way that we've done things. And there's often a lot of times where we can bring something in from another industry and implement it in ours and actually get really, really good success out of it. So just because we've done something one way for a long time doesn't always necessarily mean it's the right one. So question those habits. Start with the end in mind. Even if you have no desire to ever sell your business, eventually you are going to exit your business. So start with the end in mind. What is that vision? What do you desire this company to look like? And ultimately kind of think about, how do you want to exit the business? What do you want to happen with it after you leave, and build it that way. Oftentimes when I'm at WIT, I think about 100-year vision. So when I'm making decisions, I say, okay, what do I want this thing to look like in 100 years, long after I'm gone? And that helps me make different decisions. So start with the end in mind, even if you don't have an actual desire to sell it. Next, if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you build a team. I don't think we can talk about leadership and the importance of cultivating leaders within the business enough, but make sure that you're paying attention to that team. Otherwise, you're going to get really far down the road and you're probably going to go pretty quick, but you're going to turn around and you're going to be alone and you're going to be the one shouldering a lot more of the work than you want to. So take the time now and start building that team, and you're going to go a lot further and you're not going to run into burnout near as much. And then just kind of this overarching thing of the importance of leadership development. Pay attention to leadership and individual human capital development right now. Take the time, invest in your team, invest in the individuals. So often companies think about people as just these numbers and these metrics, and that might get you to a certain point, but it's not going to get you really far down the road. So take the time right now to invest in leadership, invest in your individuals, get to know people, offer them coaching, offer them training, ask what they need. And I promise you those investments will pay off tenfold down the road, even if they might not quite make financial or time sense in that moment. Chris is a great example of how much this has paid off for him. So make sure to invest in leadership, invest in your team. And then the last takeaway that I'll share was take time to create transformational relationships with vendors and other partners. Vendors are not just a vendor. They're not just somebody that you write a check to and they get a certain result. If you take the time to put in energy into building that relationship, it's going to help you go so much further. I know at least at WIT, the clients that we have that take the time to invest in the relationship, give us feedback, communicate more frequently with us, they go so much further than those that just kind of want to write a check and not really talk about it. So take the time to create transformational relationships with vendors. I love how Chris used that. And that is all I got for our takeaway today. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen to today's episode of Home Service Success TV with Chris Hunter. I guarantee you we're going to have him back on again soon. Until next time, have an absolutely amazing rest of your day.